Welcome back to Wind Waker. Last time we went through the Forest Haven and got one of my favorite items in this game, the Deku Leaf. And this time we're going to be starting the second dungeon, the Forbidden Woods. Which is a pretty alright dungeon. It does have some cool mechanics and something that these dungeons do that a lot of, well, maybe not a lot of, some people I hear complain about is use all of your items. Sometimes people say something like once you're done with a dungeon you stop using the items from previous dungeons or whatever. And I think that's untrue with this game. Sorry if my commentary's getting a little weird, I'm trying to focus here. But in this game, you're going to be using a lot of your items throughout the entirety of the game, especially the grappling hook, I find. Not only because they like to make you grapple onto certain points, but also it's just very useful when it comes to taking down enemies because you can steal their items, which is something that I wouldn't say is necessary. It's a nice touch. It's a nice addition to the item that makes it useful throughout the entirety of the game. These green choo-choos here, you might have seen it before, but you're able to stun them if you use the Deku Leaf on them. They also take 2 hits rather than 1, which is not really annoying, it's just something you gotta deal with. And I've been stealing some of their chew jelly. By the way, any discrepancies in hearts comparing the start of this video to the end of the last is because I had saved and quit. And when I restarted the file, it brought me back to the very entrance of the island, right near the shore, I guess you could call it. This place doesn't really have a shore, but that's the best word I could think of. And because of that, I had to climb all the way back here, and I got hit a couple times, but it's no biggie. I don't plan on getting hit ever again. Well, just because I don't plan on it doesn't mean it ain't gonna happen, though. First chest gets us the dungeon map. I neglected to mention that I destroyed the eye thing that was on here by throwing that Deku nut at it. If you're too close to the eyeball, then it will close up. And you need to be far away from it in order for it to open back up so that you can hit it with some sort of ranged projectile type thing. And luckily I won't be at low hearts any longer, because within this pile of grass is a fairy, which I probably should have bottled up and drank my red potion, but whatever. Deku Babas are also kind of weak to the, well, they're called Boko Babas, to the leaf, because if you shoot the wind at them, then they'll stand straight up, and that will allow you to attack them once in order to take them down. Even though it is technically 2 attacks, one with the leaf and one with the actual sword. Let's take down these green guys. Hopefully they don't hit me. That didn't hurt him, seriously? Did none of that hurt them? Oh, whatever. I don't think this treasure chest is all that important anyway, and I am getting hit for absolutely no reason. Oh, this is a Knight's Crest. We got one of these in Dragon Roost Cavern, but I didn't really mention it. It's a pretty important item. You're going to want to grab 10 of these, and I think I'm perfectly on track to grab 10 of them. So that's not too big of a deal for me. Just make sure you have 10. I'd say once we're past the event after the 3rd dungeon, you can't really get more than 10 at that point anyway, so me saying this is kind of pointless. Something that the buds do when you hop inside of them, they restore a little bit of your magic. Honestly, this game didn't need the Deku Leaf to rely on magic. It's essentially a stamina meter from something like Skyward Sword or Breath of the Wild, so the implementation here is kind of odd. they're going to give you magic pots anyway when you, basically when they want you to use it. So, I don't know, having magic pots instead of it automatically refilling is just kind of weird to me. Also, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? Oh, duh, there's a bomb right here. Place that and run away. A slight difference from the original version of this game, I still don't know their names, so I'm just going to keep calling them Boko Buds. They shoot you straight up. In the original version of the game, they shot you a little bit forward, so if you wanted to land back inside of one, you had to hold back on the stick a little bit. Or briefly, rather. These gondola things are a new mechanic. When you shoot your leaf at these spinny things, it'll bring the gondola toward you, and once you're on the gondola, then you blow in the opposite direction that you want to go. You might not have noticed, but when you use the Deku Leaf on the ground, it actually pushes you back a little bit. Let's see if I can show it right now. Yeah, you see, I'm slowly moving backwards. So you're supposed to use the backwards momentum in order to get yourself across whatever way you're trying to get across. And the Peahats barely drop the gold feathers, I noticed. You either have to get it from an item orb if you want to grab it from them, or you have to steal it, otherwise they're pretty much not going to drop it. Also, green choo-choos and Bokobabas, now that we have a magic meter, are going to are going to start dropping magic a lot more, so that's something that's going to happen. There's another one of those eyeball things, so let's get one of these Deku Nuts. I call them Deku Nuts, but I'm not actually sure if they are. That's just what they remind me of, like the Deku Sticks that drop from Bokobaba. Well, Bokobabas are the name of the enemy. I was going to call them like Bokobaba Stalks or something like that, but maybe they're called Boko Sticks and Boko Seeds or something. The Great Deku Tree is in this game, but a lot of the enemies don't have that Deku moniker anymore. And this thing is surrounded by these thorns that will pop up whenever we get near. So what we gotta do is use the wind from the leaf to push the nut away. And then grab it and throw it. You might be able to tell, but the nut is slowly deteriorating as we keep it away from its little sprout, I guess you could call it. And eventually it will just poof away on you. But it's not too big of a deal. You can just grab another one and throw that, so not too punishing, unless you have to, say, ride the gondola again to get back to it. And this is what I was talking about, using the grappling hook in the next dungeon, even though we got it in the last one. That's something this game gets right. And honestly, it doesn't really bother me when games don't do it. At least some of the games I'm thinking of, like Ocarina of Time. It doesn't really bother me that I don't use the Megaton Hammer outside of the Fire Temple, because I can go to the Fire Temple either first, or I could go to it like fourth, as I showed in my Let's Play of that. So, having it... how should I put this? Having you rely on items from previous temples... But I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. Okay. Having you rely on items from previous temples in a linear game makes sense to me, because you're gaining new abilities and skills as you go on, so it makes sense that they're going to test them more as you keep going. But in a non-linear game like Ocarina of Time or A Link to the Past or something like that, not relying on those items makes sense, because you can do the dungeons in any order, so you don't want to essentially get blocked off in the middle of a dungeon. because you don't have the right item. Just kind of wanted to finish that thought. And within this treasure chest is the compass, which still not going to use because gamepad and all that junk. We need to toss this bomb over there because this room is a big thorn maze and we can't actually get to that area unless we go all the way around, so we got to blow it up now. And I hit one of the thorns. You can kind of tell where the thorns are going to grow because of the grass, I believe. Maybe? I don't know. Hopefully this has a fairy. Nope, just rupees. Well, I think there might be a fairy in one of the pots above here. Or maybe I'm thinking of a joy pendant. They like to hide joy pendants around. Again, you need those to beat the game, so I guess they wanted to give you an abundance of them for your troubles. And in here, we have probably a small key because there was a locked door earlier. Yepperoonie. Luckily, they give you this bud here so that you can fly to the end of the room rather than having to go through that maze again. Very nice of them. I probably should have... Okay. Whew. I probably should have gone to the upper... Yeah, I'm going to do that. Go to this upper one and then jump down to the lower one and then jump my way out of this room. And there was nothing in that one. There would probably be hearts, I guess, because I'm playing on hero mode. I don't know why I like the Deku Leaf so much. It's probably because it adds to the platforming, and I'm a weirdo, so I like platforming in my Zelda games. Oh, I didn't talk about those spiky eyeball things. I guess I could talk about them when they come up again in more detail. But for now, let us actually go up some more, because I believe the magic pot for this level, or dungeon, this isn't Zelda 1, they're not called levels, is within a pile of leaves up here. The only reason I know this is actually because the Tingle Tuner, I was playing with that one time and Tingle on the Game Boy was like, this area smells like the beginning of the dungeon, which is supposed to hint that there's a warp in that spot. So let me see if I could grab some magic, which apparently I cannot. Now let's head through this door. Sadly, even if you blow away the P-hats, they eventually will, like, regain their wings? No, they're not really wings, they're more like propellers, I guess. So yeah, they'll regain their propellers and start flying at you again, so that's something to deal with. Oh, these enemies kind of freak me out. They're reminiscent of Gomas. I don't really remember the names of these guys, but they shoot out those little spiky things after you attack them. So either hit them with something hard or kind of avoid them, because you don't want a lot of those spiky ball things coming around. And I believe in this room we fight the mini boss of the dungeon, as you can tell by that transition. That's kind of an easy tell in this game, that there is a mini boss, and there's always going to be a mini boss in a dungeon, by the way. That is something this game does that gets a little stale. Every time you're getting a dungeon item, it's because you beat a mini boss for it, which is a little lame, but it's alright, I guess. This mini boss is essentially a flying version of that thing that we saw before that I said was like Goma. It can also shoot out the babies, and once you've hit it enough, it essentially becomes a smaller one, or rather, a non-winged one, just with more health. The little spike ball things, they don't actually hurt you. All they do is they latch onto you if they see you moving. And once they're latched on, they slow you down if there's enough of them on you. You could get them off by either rolling or by doing spin attacks. Spin attacks usually will attack them as they come off of you, so That's pretty useful to use. That's pretty useful to use. How redundant. Either way, this is the boomerang. Probably second best boomerang in the Zelda series. Because, in my opinion, the Twilight Princess one beats it out, but it's essentially a prototype of that one. And actually I want to switch my items around real fast, so let's get the... Alright, there we go. That's a little better for me. So, with the boomerang in this game, you can lock onto targets while in that over-the-shoulder view. And once you've locked onto multiple targets, you let go of the button, and it will shoot them all down in the order that you locked onto them. Okay, I need to drink a potion. Hold on. You can lock on to up to 5 targets. However, if there is something in the way of your target, so like say there was a big tree stump in the middle of the room that I had to deal with, it's not going to go through the tree stump in order to get to your target. So you have to make sure that, how should I put it, that the order that you lock onto things is a bit realistic, I suppose. Like, this probably won't work. Oh, it actually did. Never mind. Be as unrealistic as you want. Just something to keep in mind when dealing with the boomerang. And this is actually above a room that we were in previously. Let's open this chest, which probably has a joy pendant inside. Yep. And head into the next room, which is the main central room. And here I can use the boomerang to take down all of these weird things at once. If you try to cut them down now, it's not actually going to work, and it will just reattach itself to the ceiling. So you have to lock onto all of them so they get taken down really rapidly. And this is able to fall through the ground and reveal an even lower level to the dungeon. This room can be kind of annoying. You want to take your time here and lock on to all these eyeball things, because they can start gimping your jumps while they jump at you, and that can get kind of annoying. The boomerang can deal with the P-hats as well, by the way. Usually, weaker enemies can be taken down by the boomerang. Other enemies will be stunned. Like, if you decided to hit a moblin with the boomerang, then they'll just be stunned. But if you hit, say, a P-hat with it, it will actually be killed by the boomerang. Yeah, 10 rupees is alright. Let's take down this flower so that it's on the lower level, and I guess I could head into that extra room. I don't really feel like it, honestly. It's not mandatory. At least I'm pretty sure it's not mandatory. You could just get like a treasure chart or something like that. So I don't feel like going in there. And am I not shooting in the right direction? This is usually supposed to go faster. I think that's a little better. Maybe. I still feel like I'm doing this wrong. Ah, well. Here's a couple more Octoroks to deal with. Unlike in Ocarina of Time, where you actually had to aim your shield so that the Octoroks would... well, so that the rock that they shoot would go in the right direction. It automatically goes in the right direction for you. So that's something that's a bit... you know, it's busy work that's gotten cut down a bit. The boomerang can also retrieve items for you, and it will also lock onto those items to make things a bit easier. There are some tentacles around the dungeon also. These things, if they latch onto you, they will start stealing your magic. They don't actually do damage, so that's a bit of an annoyance. This room is actually a good place to stop. This is where the boss key is, so next time on Wind Waker, we'll be unlocking that boss key and probably finishing the dungeon.